Hi guys, it's Dr. Sammy Pryor, and this is the fourth video in the obesity and the microbiome. If you haven't watched the other videos, go watch them. This is fascinating information. I'm using a study, but this video today is going to be talking about the diet and prebiotics, which you get in your diet, right? So the way this study was set up, they talked about prebiotics first and then diet, but I think I'm going to do that in a little, go in different direction and talk diet, then prebiotics, because your diet is where you get your prebiotics, okay? So come over here, go with the diet first. Okay. So they were studying a lot of diets and seeing like what happened with the diet. The westernization of dietary habits, which is like eating more meat, eating more dairy, eating more processed grains, refined grains, like Little Debbie cookies, like many things you can get at the grocery store, crackers, things like that, saltine crackers and stuff like that. But it says westernization of dietary habits has led to microbial dysbiosis. Dysbiosis means bad mix of bugs, bad bacteria in the gut. And it says they found, and I learned this in naturopathic school. This was a finding a while back, actually. This was found in 2010. But children that live in Africa, they have a low-fat, very high-fiber diet. They have a significantly higher diversity of intestinal microbes, and they have a much fewer of what we consider bad bugs, dysbiotic bacteria, okay? And it showed that children of European countries had more Bacteroidetes and, the African children have more Bacteroidetes than the European children. And the European children had higher amounts of Firmicutes and Enterobacteriaceae, especially the Shigella and the Escherichia. That one's the E. coli, is one of the Escherichia. So anyways, if you remember, if you haven't watched the first two, go back and watch the first two, but there's a flip. And Bacteroidetes is very protective against weight gain and having a better ratio between that and the Firmicutes. Westernization diets increase Firmicutes higher, so lower Bacteroidetes, so they get overweight. Whereas these African children had huge Bacteroidetes, okay? So that was showing that low-fat, high-fiber diet really improves that Bacteroidetes number. It also showed that when you have a high-fat diet and a low-fiber diet, which is most people in America's diet, I would say, they have a reduced intestinal microbial diversity. And having a lot of fiber in the diet, that really, your fruits, vegetables, and legumes, that increases the microbial diversity a lot. And so that was also associated with reduced weight gain in humans and independently of the energy intake, okay? So they can eat a lot more food, and yet if it's high in vegetables, fruits, and your legumes, they will have better energy expenditure and they won't gain weight, right? So many people that switch from eating a big meat-based, dairy-based diet, when they switch to eating a big plant-based diet, they are often very surprised that the quantity of food they can eat is a lot more. And the reasons, because if you think about it, if you're eating a big salad, versus like a 4-ounce steak, what's going to be more calorie dense? Yeah, the 4-ounce steak and not the big salad, right? Now, if you put cheese on your salad, you threw that steak on the salad, and you had salad dressing, yes, your salad would be more calorie dense, right? But I'm talking just greens tossed in olive oil and lemon, right? Okay, so here we go. And they're talking about astaxanthin. This is the pink color in salmon. But they found it in a medicinal mushroom called Antrodia cinnamonia. This, when they gave it, it's a carotenoid. When they gave this to obese mice that were induced by a high-fat diet, it prevented weight gain and improved their lipid and glucose metabolism and regulated the gut microbiota. So I have another video out there. Don't ask me which one it is. Oh, it's the one on this superfoods in season. You can go watch that. But carotenoids are extremely predictive of your weight, right? So if you have a high carotenoid in your bloodstream, you're most likely a thinner person. That has been shown over and over. And why is that? Your carotenoids come from your vegetables, your leafy greens, your orange, your yellow vegetables. Yeah, if you're eating a lot of vegetables, you're probably on the thinner side, okay? Okay, so it says that when they gave this astaxanthin to these mice, it optimizes their Bacteroides and their Firmicutes ratios and enhance the Akkermansia, which you can learn all about that in the first of these videos. Okay, very protective. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the prebiotics, because like I said, you get prebiotics from your diet. Okay, so prebiotics are non-metabolized food ingredients that go through the intestinal tract and are able to be fermented by the beneficial microbes in the gut. The most researched prebiotics are fructooligosaccharides, inulin, and one called galacto-oligosaccharides. Okay, and it showed fermentable carbohydrate inulin is able to increase the density of cells that produce the appetite suppressing hormone PYY by 87%, thus showing its role in reducing your food intake and enhancing obesity treatment. That was a study, Brooks et al. This showed supplementation with this galacto-oligosaccharide. This helped healthy individuals to raise the number of the bifidobacterium and decrease the number of the Bacteroides. Okay? It says that studies have shown that prebiotics can benefit the composition and the function of the gut. We know that they increase the bifidobacterium species and other butyrate producers, and that leads to better metabolic outcomes and better gut barrier against pathogens. Another study showed that an increase in bifidobacterium has been shown to be accompanied by a rise of the lactobacillus species following addition of the fructooligosaccharide, resulting in a decline of the ghrelin levels, the PYY, and the food intake. Grr, I'm hungry, ghrelin. We talked about that in another video, okay? It said, Fructooligosaccharide is known for its bifidogenic capability, increasing the bifidobacterias, which are a big group of bugs that are really good for your health of your gut. It says that when they did a double blinded placebo-controlled trial randomized in human subjects, they gave them 3 doses, 2.55 and 10 grams per day of fructooligosaccharide, or the placebo got maltodextrin at 10 grams per day. They tested their microbial DNA from fecal samples at different points within the study. And what it showed was the fructooligosaccharide consumption increased the phyla of bifidobacteria and lactobacillus. And moreover, the higher doses of the fructooligosaccharide promoted selected proliferation of phyla belonging to the lactobacillus. Okay, and why lactobacillus is so important is because lactobacillus is lactic acid producing, so they keep the gut at a lower pH, which benefits the gut highly because that dissuades a lot of bad bacteria from growing. And yeah, good stuff. So it says when they withdrew the prebiotic consumption, these bacteria populations declined. Okay, so it really showed that increases of the fructooligosaccharide help these get more lactobacillus, get more bifidobacteria, but once they withdrew it, the populations declined. Why? Because they eat that fiber. That's their food source. So if you take away their food source, they're not going to stick around. You know, they need food, just like we need food, right? Okay. So it said, when they were given them that fructooligosaccharide, they had a significant change in some bugs, some bacteria that are butyrate producing. So your Faecalibacterium, your Ruminococcus, and your Oscillospira. And these show that when you give the prebiotics, that really helps the microbial diversity, and it has beneficial effects on the health of the host, so the one taking it, right? Okay, so in addition, high-fat diet induces leptin resistance. Leptin's a hormone that keeps your metabolism humming along, and it keeps you burning fat. When your leptin is resistant, that means your body will not listen to the leptin hormone, okay? So you won't be burning your metabolism and burning fat well, okay? But it said that if you give 1 dose of a prebiotic treatment, this can improve that leptin resistance. Wow, that's fascinating. It says bifidobacterium and galactooligosaccharides studied alone and as symbiotics show no additional benefit when used together. Okay, so, okay. It said that they have shown that the lycopene, when they're given lycopene for 1 month, it resulted in a significant alteration in the composition of the gut microbiome. The lycopene formulations prompted a dose-dependent rise in mainly the bifidobacterium species. They also gave a dark chocolate, a cacao flavanols. This caused a rise in the lactobacillus species. Okay, and when they gave these together, it showed it had a decrease in the Bacteroidetes. We don't really want to decrease these, so I don't know whether that's a good thing. But lycopene increases the bifidobacteria. Dark chocolate seems to increase lactobacillus, basically. Okay, so that's the prebiotics, okay? But diet, we know high fiber diet, which fiber is your prebiotics. Yeah, I have a whole video on fiber, a deep dive into fiber. You might want to go watch that to really understand. Okay, hopefully I haven't lost you guys, but we're going to conclude this series with exercise. Exercise is something you control. Diet is something you can control. If you're eating a high fiber diet, a lower fat diet, and you're exercising, you will get changes in your gut, and you're going to hear about that right now. So, what does exercise do? It says that studies have shown that aerobic exercise enhances microbial variation, largely the bacteria that produce butyrate, and you'll hear about all the beneficials of butyrate in video 2 of this series. And it increases the turnover of macromolecules, specifically the carbohydrates and proteins in the gut microbiome of athletes. Okay? It said a cross-sectional study performed by Wisner et al. In 2018 compared changes to the gut microbial diversity and composition in young adults who undertook moderate to vigorous physical activity. And it showed increases in microbial diversity, especially in participants who received an adequate amount of fiber per day in addition to the moderate to vigorous physical activity. It said, furthermore, an increase in the Bacteroidetes and decrease in Firmicutes have been reported in obese adults following aerobic moderate to intense physical activity. In a study by Ellen et al. In 2018, sedentary, lean, and obese subjects participated in a 6-week endurance exercise program, which included 30 to 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous workouts. The fecal samples were taken at baseline and post-intervention. Results showed that physical activity altered the gut microbiome and that changes were dependent on obesity status. So it says, basically, the regimen increased fecal levels of short-chain fatty acids, acetate and butyrate in the lean subjects, but not so much in the obese subjects. However, exercise did reduce the body fat percentage in both groups, and in summary, exercise induced compositional and functional changes to the human gut microbiota dependent on obesity status and exercise sustainment and independent of diet. So basically, not as much benefit in your obese people for increasing the short-chain fatty acid production. I think what that's saying, because we know the obese people tend to have a much higher Firmicutes to Bacteroidetes ratio, that exercise is not going to be the end-all be-all to flip that ratio, right? How are you going to flip that ratio? Through all the things we talked about in this study. But the more you change the diet, you see when you add the exercise, that will increase the diversity and will increase that production of the short-chain fatty acids, which if you didn't watch video 2, go watch that. That is super important for weight management and the health of your colon. So what's nice in this little study, and we'll conclude, I know 20 minutes is a lot to take in, but the end of this series, you might need to watch these videos a few times because it's a lot of science. I've had to read this study, I don't know, this is probably the 7th time I've read this study, and I still had to read it to you guys because I can't remember everything that's in this study. I will be watching these videos myself in the future because I won't remember everything I said in these things. But what's neat, they did a graph of all the diets and the changes it does to your microbe. What's neat is the Mediterranean diet. It looks like it increases the Bacteroidetes It increases Clostridium clusters, which not all Clostridium clusters are bad. A lot of them are good ones. They're short chain fatty acid makers, and it decreases proteobacteria. Proteobacteria is not good to be high. You do need some, but when it's too high, it's not a good thing. And it decreases the Bacillacea. Okay. A vegetarian diet increases the Bacteroidetes. It decreases pathobionts. Pathobionts are not good bugs. And it decreases the Bacteroides fragilis. A high fiber diet increases the bifidobacteria. It increases your microbial diversity, and it improves the Firmicutes Bacteroidetes ratio. Okay. It has a high fat diet that decreases the Bacteroidetes and increases the Firmicutes, which is not a good thing for weight management. And then a high protein diet, what that does, it causes an increase in the Firmicutes. It causes an increase in bile-tolerant microorganisms, and it increases the microbial diversity, but mainly you have to do that with exercise. So if you're eating a high-protein diet, you need to do it with exercise for that microbial diversity change. Okay, so to sum that little summary up, eating more plants, better. The Mediterranean diet is high in whole grains, beans, vegetables, fruits. High fiber, better. Vegetarian, better. High fat, bad. High protein, yeah. Increases the Firmicutes, which is not good for weight, but it also can change the diversity, but you have to add exercise with it. And why is because it increases the bile-tolerant bugs, right? Which makes sense because high protein, you're going to be eating a lot of fat with that usually because you're going to be eating meat and things that have fat. So you'll have more bile production. Yeah. So anyways, to sum up all we talked about today, healthy lifestyle, eating more fruits, vegetables, and exercising. That's the key. Getting a lot of fiber in the diet. Okay, I love you guys. We are concluding this series. Mwah! Y'all have a good day. Yeah, probably going to go back to doing some microbiome. Oh, I know what the next series is going to be. Oral health. Yes, oral health, because that's my New Year's resolution, get my oral health back together. And we'll talk about that more. But bye, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.